This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
So, thank you for joining me. I'm here with Sailu Timbo. You're kind of a sought-after person to talk to. But first, before anything, I want to thank you personally because you and Angela Jackson were pivotal to the path of my company. And I wish that this pushback to DEI and this weaponization to DEI, I wish it wasn't a thing because I am the perfect example of why it's important to have people like you in positions like DEI directors, and you're a champion of inclusivity and diversity and all that stuff. So you were connected me with an employer, and which that employer eventually became my client, and it was a huge. It wasn't even a tiny thing. It was a huge pivotal moment. So thank you, and I haven't said this thank you to Angela, but I know I will someday because. So I mentioned you, and part of my story, you're part of whenever I'm talking to people about my journey, you play a role in it. So
well, that's very heartfelt to hear, and I appreciate that. You know, you have a lot of talent. I think we can get in the story of how we first met.
I know, right?
We can get into that here in a second. But I mean, honestly, you know, I think, you know, the saying's always been, it's not what you know, it's who you know sometimes. And I think that goes both ways. I think you got to know something. But I also think that who you know and being connected can really help us. And I've had people who have helped me throughout my career and still do to this day. And so if I can pay it forward or help anyone out in a way, I mean, I think that's really what I get excited about. But also identifying the talent and skills that you do have and the work that you do. I mean, it makes it easy to want to recommend, or it makes it easy just want to support whatever that means for anybody. Yeah. So I'd say I throw the flowers back to you, my friend. I think you've done an excellent job. I'm here in your studio. I'm just like, wow, this is cool. That's innovation with that is tied to your name, right? It's a solution. It's a resource. It's it's infinite. It's fantastic. So, congrats to you on all that.
Thank you, and not to make it into a big DEI conversation, because even I'm like, I don't only want to talk about DEI. You know, like there are businesses move in different capacities, right?
Right.
But I just wanted to say that because it just goes to show the importance of if you have somebody on the other side to open the door a little bit quicker, or connect you, with the right person, and maintain expectations for that connection to become a reality. It can change lives. Right. And sometimes when I feel the pushback and even the words DEI are changing right now, are like some type groups, ERG groups or something. Yeah. What do you think about that? Just real quick, let's get that out of the way. What do you think about the pushback? How do you see it? Where's the state of DEI?
I'll frankly say I think the pushback is unfortunate. And I think the biggest reason why it's misunderstood. You can even see in some of the rhetoric used right now. It's been politicized, and it's become part of the battling ground between red states, blue states, and the candidates and all that. And it's like, it's unfortunate because really all we're talking about is people. And the dimensions of DEI, we don't even scratch the surface because we can't get past race and gender. You know what I'm saying? Right, DEI really should be positioned as a business asset. It's a weapon. Why is that? Let me give you 2 examples of companies that, even though we're not talking about optics, if they would have thought about different mindsets, different processes, people with different ideas, they could still be in business. Who invented the digital camera?
I don't know.
Who died because of the digital camera?
I don't know.
What did you do when you used to take pictures?
I don't know.
Well, you'd go and you get them developed, right? I mean, it was usually a Kodak disposable or what have you. They invented the digital
Kodak.
camera. They had a group that were their board members who all thought the same and said that, well, we're going to lose money on film service. This will never work. What put them out of business? That product. The other example is Blockbuster.
Yeah.
What did I do on every Friday night? Oh, you couldn't wait to get out of school to go to Blockbuster, right? Well, Netflix came in and disrupted it with a new emerging innovative model. So if you really position DEI as an innovative strategy, you can't go wrong. And I don't know how anyone can debate it because you want to be able to evolve and grow. When it comes to culture that builds into that, our cultures define us, and our cultures make us be attracted to a certain, maybe it's a certain service from a company or a certain widget or item. And as we continue to get more of a melting pot in culture, and I'm talking more than just ethnic culture and gender and regions, I'm just talking about the fact that this world is so globalized now. You know, I learned most of my cooking of new and unique items from someone on TikTok who's over in Japan or somewhere else, right? I mean, it's so easy for that access for information. And if we are not paying attention to that, that's where we lose. So that translates over to business too. And how we do things every single day, because the organization's culture, if it's not welcoming and accepting and inclusive of people who come in with different mindsets, different ideologies, who still want to come in and do a good job. Caveat, the business has to define and be very clear about what's expected. That's okay. That's part of the business. You know, you can't crash that mountain of a business, but it should still be able to evolve and adapt to welcome all different unique ideas that are just going to drive dollars.
So Blockbuster failed to have diversity on their technology sector,
on their technology sector, but also just the innovation of, you know, Netflix came along and they started sending you DVDs through the mail. And Blockbuster looked at it and it's like, well, if we start really pushing DVDs, we make a lot of money. The big revenue stream for them was the rewind. Remember the fees you got if you didn't rewind? So it was very short-sighted in their thought process. And then years later, they had the chance to buy Netflix.
And they didn't.
And they did not. They laughed it all the way out. Now look at where Netflix is at. Blockbuster could be in business.
I think there's one Blockbuster store, by the way.
There's one in maybe Oregon, I believe.
Somewhere.
And it's independently owned. They go they buy DVDs from like Target and then they sell on the shelves. But it's like a nostalgia deal. So
diversity, it's not just ethnicity, right?
No,
it's
and honestly, I think nowadays we need to really think about inclusion and culture, organizational culture and inclusion, you know, because if I'm coming in and I feel like for some reason or another, and I'm, again, above all the dimensions we focus on, if I feel like I don't fit into the organization or I'm not being heard, I don't have a sense of belonging, I'm not bringing my full self to work. And essentially you're just wasting money on me and what we're trying to get accomplished as an organization. If I feel like I can't be as productive as need be, you feel like I can't be as productive as you need be, right? So there's a financial gain right there just by focusing on your employees. And it's not just pizza parties, right? It's about making sure that we have the connection, make sure you're being heard. You know, you're talking through the good, you're coaching, you're mentoring, it's all those things. You know, my mentor says this all the time. And I use this in my talk track for speaking. I'd use it when I talk to clients and engagements. Just use it Saturday with a lot of conviction. You cannot engage in anything until you learn how to connect. You have to connect one-on-one, build that relationship, whatever that looks like. Don't have to like each other. That's okay, right? There's no rule that says you have to like each other, but you have to find a way to connect and engage. You know, I love using the saying, who in an organization has $1 million idea that they hold close to the chest that could help that organization move to the next level? Well, if I feel like I can't share that with you, I don't feel like I belong. You think you're going to get that out of me?
I'm keeping this.
Let's just be realistic what it is. And so when it comes to DEI for me, whatever we want to call it today, tomorrow, in the future, I mean, the conversation will never go away. So, and they need to stop using the terms DEI hire. What does that mean? That is, if that's the case, you're a DEI hire too, right? You know, so it's like, stop using that rhetoric. I think it really should focus on starting with inclusion and culture. And then as you do that, the byproduct will be the optical diversity, the diversity of thought, all those different uniques that you want will just come as a byproduct to your organization. People are going to want to work there. You're going to get more and more connection. You know, they always say sometimes nepotism is bad. Sometimes nepotism is good. I see someone working here that I know, I love, I'm part of, maybe related to. Well, that might attract me to come work there in the future, or recommend someone to work there in the future. So,
how do we get the conversation from DEI is equals bottom line, like it hits the bottom line in a positive way, like it creates revenue.
Yeah.
How does that come? How do we get? Because I think that CEOs and big corporations, they look at the bottom line, right? Like, and numbers talk. If the numbers are going up and trending up, then they like it. So, but I think we got caught up in the weaponization of the word and the letters.
Yep.
How do we explain this to CEOs that are like, this is gonna affect your bottom line in a good way?
Well, you got to boil it down to simplicity. One thing you know about CEOs, people in the C-suite, people in leadership roles, they don't have time for books. Get down to the facts. And I think the first factor I'll tell you is that DEI and affirmative action are not the same thing. Okay, quotas really shouldn't be part of the DEI conversation. That's my opinion. I know there's others who agree. I think you should be able to measure it to see success as the byproduct. I think that's great. But leading with that is where the problems have come now with this negative backlash. They talked about the young lady from Harvard, the president from Harvard. Well, she's a DEI hire. Okay, stop. She's the president of Harvard. I can't be the president of Harvard. Okay, call me a bad hire if you hire me to be president of Harvard, and actually shame on you if you do. Right? So it's like we got to change the language a little bit. I don't think we stop the fight. I think we just need to reset and pause on some things, but the message has to be clear. It cannot be an us versus them. It has to be a we versus we. At the end of the day, just like a sports team, we're trying to score a goal. We're trying to score a point. Ultimately, the best players are on the field to win. Now, it does not mean that someone can't be supported to get there. You have a receiver that's struggling with catching the ball, but they're so fast. What do you help them with? Learn how to catch the ball. You have a running back who's fumbling. Maybe they don't have the size on them. Maybe they need to build up their legs stronger or their forearms so they quit fumbling. They're still a great running back. They still have great vision. They still know how to take a hit. They still know how to see the hole and all that, but they just put the ball on the ground. Well, help them so they don't pull the ball on the ground. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not all perfect at everything. And so those same principles have to be used throughout business. And then when you get into the business, got to really think about how are you getting the voice, the honest voice and opinion of your teams. Organizational health. What is the healthy conversations that happen? Is it, if you have a team of 20, do you have 2 people making all the decisions and everyone else saying yes? Or are you helping collectively make the decisions together so they feel like they have a sense of ownership in this organization to produce healthy profit, right? Because we're still in the game to make money. We got to produce healthy profit. Sometimes we just get in our own way when it comes to our decision-making processes and, whose voices we want to hear today, how we run our meetings, do we give, you and I, before we went on, we're talking about traction. One of the things I love about traction is through the structured meetings, even though this is so simple, it's like we take a moment to say, what's your personal best and business best? You have a meeting on Monday morning, how's your weekend? Talk about that. Talk about something very successful in business. It can be very small one week and it can be very big. It all depends what's going on. So those are ways just to spark dialogue and then create some of that connection so you can go and engage and tackle the large, bigger issues.
So you're a proponent of like a democratic sort of decision making and idea? Yeah,
I think to a point. Ultimately, you still have business owners. You still have those, again, you as a business owner. I mean, you want to hear voices and opinions, but at the end of the day, it's still you.
Still the final decision.
Yeah, you still have to be the final decision. So, but it doesn't mean that you have all the ideas. That's where it's like, help me grow, help us grow so we can help you grow. And I think that's part of the democracy. We can all grow together and prosper. I don't have to, it's not a zero-sum game. I don't have to win so you lose. especially when you're on my team. I want to win.
Yeah.
You know, going back to football, right?
Yes.
The receiver doesn't lose because the running back gets the carries. They all score a touchdown. Who wins the game?
So you're a business advisor for creative planning. So you're talking to corporations, business owners.
Yeah, mostly medium, small-sized businesses. Some corporations, some that are just starting out. And those are the fun ones because we can get real creative.
Yeah.
You know, but it's really just getting them structured correctly. Thinking through all the unintended consequences that can come up from owning your business or thinking about a new revenue stream or a new department and just really think it through. What is the decision-making process? What are the guardrails that guide your organization? Because you still need that structure. Anybody really does. If you're selling hot dogs on a corner, right? That we all love. I love going to big cities.
Yeah, I know.
I love those guys and girls who sell on the street corners, the food trucks, things like that. Or if you're running a billion-dollar business, the principles are just the same. There's an order of operation and process. It's got to be clear. It's got to be concise. And those who are part of the team, they have to feel like they're an owner. They have to feel like what they do, especially if you run a department, that is your own department. And you rely on others to get your job done. So you have to work well together. But you have to talk through what that is, right?
Yeah.
And so as a business advisor, those are some of the things we do. We also, we really focus on helping companies with affirmation. What I mean by that is that, just like you go to a lawyer or a tax, which we do, we're part of professional services, but in the business advisory department, they give professional advice. And someone may have already thought that. They may have already thought that, the client, but they just need to make sure they hear from someone else, okay, I'm on the right track.
I see. Yes.
So, and that can be as simple as a question, or it can be as big as a large project or a new initiative that's coming up.
I did take this class for about 6 months, and a lot of it was like, okay, I am in the right path. I am doing that. We are doing this. Yes, we have that. So like, it is true because sometimes you're just kind of like, a guerrilla style doing it. Just going with your gut. So what's the biggest mistake you see a CEO or a leader doing?
The biggest mistake you see a lot of organizations do, or a leader of an organization, and most of our businesses we work with, it's the actual owner, is not really providing that clarity they need at times to their team members, or maybe it's another stakeholder, an external stakeholder. And really what it looks like. And that's some of the things we do. We have a program we actually call Leadership U. And we go through really an organization's health, help them really define what they're doing, how they're going to do it, and put the bones behind that. What are their core values that they're going to operate in?
Yeah.
What is their ultimate, like if we had to say, that's not a tagline, if we had to say, what are you here to do? As an organization, and really start with that, so ultimately it usually ends with the client or customer, right? And so we help them really get organized that way. And then they start building out your goals and tangible. And then you can start building out the tactics to get to that, right? Build out the strategy that you have to operate your business the way you want to. You can set your 1-year targets realistically, 3-year targets, 5-year targets, stretch goals, and continue to play with it. But then it's also Jim Collins, if you ever read a book by Jim Collins, in one of his books, I believe it's Good to Great. He's got Great by Choice, Good to Great. All the books are great. And when I was at Hy-Vee, our CEO had us read those books. And I'm like, these books are awesome. But one principle he talks about is the team bus. Okay. Right? And I swear by it. I think it's the greatest exercise you go through is to really see who's in the right seat on the bus? Who's on the bus, first of all? And then are they in the right seat? And if they don't want to be in the right seat, what happens? You leave them at the bus stop. It's unfortunate, but it's reality. There again, it can correlate to sports. So we really work through exercises like that to say who's the right person in the right seat. There's assessments to look at skill sets. We do another assessment that I'm actually really proud of called Working Genius. And it really says that we have 2 things that we're kind of gifted and that are our geniuses. We have 2 things that are competencies and we have 2 things that are frustrations. So example, if I'm not good at writing a paper or writing a big strategy, but you have me do it, and I hate doing it. But Johnny over there or Sue over there can do it tenfold better in half the time. Why isn't she doing it versus me? But if I'm the person who's able to be in a discernment type role or be an ideation type person, I can think up what if we could do this? Yeah, okay. And then you build some momentum behind it. Maybe the person to be that cheerleader, the galvanizer behind it, right? Wouldn't I be better suited doing that? And then just, between us as a team, because ultimately we wanted to win together. So we were able to really measure who can do what in the organization.
So when your clients come to you, are they already coming with kind of like help me? Because so the reason why I asked that is because obviously my personal experience is that you have the grit to get it going and you have the idea and then you have the perseverance to go. So you get to a place where organization and planning is the next level.
Right.
If you don't have it, you cannot get to the next level.
Right.
And I've seen some pretty kind of sad stories in a way and some tragic stories because I've heard stories that, people have it, they start with bad habits, maybe not paying taxes here, maybe doing everything. And then eventually they either close or they just stay small or they just can't scale. And some are getting pursued by the law because they created bad habits. And to me, I'm why do you let your dream become your nightmare? Where your dream was to have a business, to be self-employed and be independent and be, economically, well, and then now it's become your biggest problem. And it's when you're talking about organization and planning, that is the next level. I don't think people talk about that enough.
I don't think they do either.
To go to the next level, you need to have extreme organization.
Right.
That's what big corporations do.
That's what they
right?
do. That's exactly what they do. And they bring in the right people to help lead some of those things. Small business, you start out just like you. You start out bootstrapping. So you're doing it all.
Yeah.
But you have to manage one person or maybe two or three. Easier to connect. As you grow, you're going to need to fill those seats.
Yeah.
And at first you look at it as all right, I'm looking at my P&L. If I invest here, I hope it gets me here, but what if it doesn't? And if you don't hit that and it gets the what if it doesn't side of the coin, you can make some decisions that just aren't good, wrong, immoral, or just unethical.
Yes.
That can get you into some trouble. So before you do that, it's wiser to pay now versus pay later and get that advice. Get someone in your corner to just help you get organized so you can, there again, mitigate all those pitfalls that come at you. Because it gets tough. Yeah. You, as a business owner, I'm not talking about you specifically, but you as someone as a business owner, they're passionate about their product. Maybe they're making pies, right? That doesn't mean that they know how to run, they want to run a big corporation, but their pies has gotten them to. And so if they don't know, they don't know. Get the advice.
Yeah.
If you want that pie, that business to continue to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in.
And I think it has to be with for example, I've been in business for 5 years, and here soon, I have to start thinking, what can I do for this to really become, to have a long life,
right?
For me to set my kids or give them the best opportunity possible, right? I didn't just start this business just for 5, 6 years, 7 years later to just oh, look, it worked. I want to push it to the next level. And I think that organizational part has to come into effect. I've always said that if I stop doing this is because of taxes. They're discouraging and you can't, I don't mind paying taxes. I just the level of time that it takes to put them together and get them to the accountant and just and that,
TMI, but my guy's still doing my taxes right now.
I know.
I'm dude, we got 10 days.
Yes, I'm getting extensions all the time. You don't get an extension. I can't. Because you got to deal with the clients, right? And you got to fill the orders and you got to do all this stuff. And it's just like, man, it's such a, but that's why you get an accountant, right? You get a CPA,
to
you get
be
a
the
CPA,
advisor.
yeah, you get the right
Now,
people.
CPAs who do help you
Uh-huh.
really should be positioned more as an advisor than just someone who prepares your taxes. They
Right.
should be able to help you through thinking, what are the right things you can do to set yourself up for success?
Uh-huh.
I'll give you an example. If you have a company that their CEO's not, their CPA or their tax advisors not giving them the advice to hold sales tax across state lines, and it comes back and bites them, that's money that can potentially cripple the business once the audit happens or once you find out the mistake. Hopefully you find out the mistake. It's always better for you to self-report than have them come after you. But that's just an easy example. There's so many different unique laws in each state, some even municipalities. I didn't know till a few months ago that like the city of Philadelphia, and there's a lot of cities out there, it's not the only one, but they charge 3% tax on employees per hour that they work.
Really?
Even if you're
Like
not
city
located
taxes?
even if you're not
taxes?
located in Philadelphia, but they spend the majority of their time working there. So it's like there's so many uniques out there, and I'm by no means a CPA. I am in an office next to a whole bunch of CPAs, tax professionals, and all that. So I'm not giving tax advice. That's my disclaimer. This is not tax advice. I don't need anyone coming after me. But it's the value and the intelligence behind what these young folks are doing. It's unbelievable.
I think one of the mistakes that I made and that I see a lot of people make too is that thinking like, I got a CPA, they'll do everything, and you got to stay on top of them. A good CPA should be able to tell you by July, hey, you're projected to pay this much taxes.
Yeah.
So you got to start making decisions, invest more, or like put it back into the company or whatever. And I've had to kind of like learn that the hard way, to be like, I have to be talking to the accountant, once or twice a month,
Right.
And then the closer it gets to the middle of the year, the closer it gets to the third quarter. Like right now, we're in like full on conversations.
Right.
Yeah. So the companies that you're working with where are they? Are they like in emergency mode? Like, hey, creative planning business services help me.
Well,
or like they're proactive and they're like, hey, I think I need you.
I could say the majority of them are proactive. They need us. It could be a short-term project. It could be a long-term, solution where we touch base on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis.
Yeah.
We also do have what we call kind of a turnaround service, mergers and acquisitions area. So usually, if it gets bad, it's going to that side. If there's some issues or things like that, and I know what they do, but I don't.
Sure.
These guys are so super intelligent. It's unbelievable hearing some of the unique things they do.
Yeah.
So we'd like to say be proactive. And if you really think about it, as we're working with clients to help with their taxes and then being their advisor, and then as they become that trusted advisor, just like an attorney would be, or, other professionals, they're helping send some of that information to us, letting us know their situation so we can help them get ahead of it.
What kind of, you said that startups were something that you kind of like because it's a little creative. Yeah. There's more room for creativeness.
It's that exciting mode, right? I mean, it's that, I love my kids, but I mean, I think, I've never smiled as much as that first day when they're born and when we brought them home. I love my kids just as much. Please don't take that bad, but you know what I mean? But it's that I'm a new parent. I'm a new dad, right? That was the best day of my life. Mm-hmm. I don't know what can beat that.
Right.
It's that you see that in business owners. Yeah. You see them all just, they're gung-ho. They're very passionate about their product.
Yes.
They're a sponge, right? Mm-hmm. And we work together to help. And, I have a motto, and I've talked to a few clients. I'm like, listen, if there's something I don't know, I'm going to work like hell to figure out what it is for you so you can be successful. Because the last thing I want, your success is going to be my success. Last thing I want is for you to have, fall into some kind of pitfall.
What's like a good 3 basic tips that you could give to a small business owner, or just like somebody that's thinking about, starting a company, or somebody that has a company like me?
Yeah. Oh man, find a mentor. That's the first tip I'd give. Find someone in the industry.
Yeah.
Do your research. You may think that people don't want to share some free advice to get you going. Even your competitors, they will, if you ask them or follow them. I think that's the first thing, is make sure you become kind of a student of the business. I think the second thing I'd tell you, surround yourself with people who are going to be like-minded in the sense that they're going to get behind something fun or something exciting. But also at the same time, they'll also hold you accountable. And they will, some people say it's even bad to say, but, they'll be somewhat of a devil's advocate, right? They'll challenge you a little bit, second guess, get you to think a little bit. And I think the third thing is, work on mindset. The mindset, is businesses, as even when I go back to running grocery stores or some of the departments that I have, it's an ebb and flow. It's some days are great, some days like, oh, this is not fun. It's a struggle. Or you got to think about how do you get creative? How do you learn from some mistakes? Is work on your mindset. There's a book out there called Soundtracks by John Acuff. It talks a lot about how we have these voices in our heads that just tell us to do a certain thing or talk us out of a certain thing. Work on getting that under control within yourselves. And I can't sit here and give advice for each and every person, because we all battle it every day. I know I do still, right? And so they have to look within themselves and build the strategies that work for them. Work on that mindset, because that's what's going to get them through those moments that aren't tough. Yeah. And just remember, those moments that aren't tough, the tough times don't last. So have the mental fortitude to get through it. Yeah. With the help of your mentors, with the help of those who are helping you be the student of the industry, right? And then think forward. I think I'd throw a fourth one on there. Think forward. Yeah. Here's why I say that. Who would have think? And Amber, I don't know how old you are. You look way younger than me. I'm
43.
All right. Oh, shoot. I'm 43 too.
Oh, you are?
September 23rd.
May.
Oh, so you got me beat, man.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
I'm here coming in here with gray hair and everything, and back's half broken, knees are shot. But think about the evolution of just how we gather information. You remember the encyclopedia? You're old enough to
I remember the encyclopedias. Yeah.
Who nowadays knows what an encyclopedia is? Then we had the CD-ROMs that you put in the computer, and then you had it, right? And then you had the internet that's blown. Yeah. What do we have now? And we kind of peppered that a little bit
Google
earlier.
And AI.
We got AI.
ChatGPT.
We have all that. And so you got to embrace the forwardness. Yeah. Keep your foot in the past with your culture, how you do things a little bit, but you have to think about how do you evolve every single day as a business. That's your foot in the future, right? And so forward thinking with that. AI is one of those things that it's like it's not really controversial yet, but it's like there's so much talk going about it, and like how do you regulate it? How do you do yada yada yada? Well, I think right now it's our responsibility to use it appropriately, or it's going to get taken away one way or the other, right? And so, but it's part of the conversation. It can make your jobs easier, just like a keyboard was back.
But so mindset and this forward thinking, I want to touch on that a little bit, because I've been noticing that, especially here in Central Iowa or in Iowa, there's a mentality of like old school, like business owners and CEOs and big companies. They're like mammoths, right? Like just to move them one way is like really, and especially if the leadership is not willing to understand that there's new things out there that if you don't do them, you're gonna stay behind the curve, right? And there's demographics are changing, culture is changing, and you can become that old grumpy man on the lawn saying "get off my lawn" type of thing. So, how do you run into that like old school mentality? Do you run into that like? We always do this way. We've always done it this way. How do you fight that a little? How do you fight that?
Well, first of all, I'm that guy, and I love my lawn, and I take a lot of pride in my lawn. So if anyone walks on my lawn, I am that grumpy old 43, 83-year-old man. Get off my lawn. I think you have to fight it with a lot of practicality.
Okay.
That is, I mean, again, let's just think about technology in general.
Uh-huh.
If I'm more productive as an employee, first of all, you need to market yourself to the younger generations. We always do that,
yes.
right? There's always going to be an evolution in that. And if I'm an employer and I don't provide all the tools for my employees to be successful, new and innovative that makes sense for the business, or if I'm giving you a typewriter, per se, or a notepad and say, take longhand notes, write in cursive. That's old school thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's not a place for it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we use a calculator, but we still know how to do longhand math. But if I say I'm requiring you to do longhand math to do this job, and I expect you to do it in the same amount of time with someone with a calculator would in another organization, that's insanity. That's silly. And I think that you really have to make it practical for the business, and you have to be able to bottom line the decisions. Every single decision you do in an organization is bottom line. So I'm going to that person and say, all right, how much money do you want to make this year? Because if we leverage the maybe evolving the new style of thinking, if we can pinpoint a projection of profitability increase or a multiple growth of organizational worth, value of your organization, I would hope you'd want to do it. And if you don't feel like you can do it, maybe you can bring someone in who can help you, or bring in us. We can help you, right? We can help you get organized. The way you do, business that has a lot of assets or inventory. If they're doing longhand inventory versus a perpetual system, you're spending way more money than you need to. Yeah. It's just worth buying the technology and do that. Okay, we can help you with it. Make it transactional to help you transform your organization. So there again, it goes for a lot of different things. Same thing was, like I said, between Kodak and Blockbuster. Old school thinking is, no, we want people to rewind. I have a VCR still. It's 30 years old. I can't remember the last time I used it. It's fun to have, but I'm never going to use it again.
Yeah.
So
but it happens, right? Like it, Radio Shack, Blockbuster. If you don't have a continuous improvement mentality, then you should be worried as an organization.
It would be like us going to build a mall right now. Why would we build a mall? You know what I'm saying? Who goes to shopping centers like they used to? Amazon's taken that over. Walmart's taken it over for years to make the shopping experience easy. I'm not going to the mall. As a kid, I loved going to the mall.
Yeah.
Arcades. I got a PlayStation. I don't need an arcade. It's like, it'd be like doing that right now.
Yeah.
And I think once you really boil it down and explain it like that, probably a little less irritating to someone and say, I wouldn't be as pointed, but really getting them to see that there is an opportunity. You just have to grow with that opportunity.
It's almost like, I'm sure you didn't start your company to close it just because times are changing. So why not evolve? That's why, as simple as a logo change, right? Like Casey's changed their logo.
They did.
Not too long ago, right? 4 or 5 years ago, I think. And you wonder why, even like using a specific font for your, logo or marketing, social media,
right?
And how much weight do you put on marketing? You're here, you're doing what we do, right? We're marketing, you're showcasing your company and services, and you're creating relationships, and I'm doing it right now as we speak, right? So what advice would you give as far as marketing and getting your name out there?
Speak to your customers with it. Whatever you want to do, make sure you're speaking to your customers and find a way to gauge that. Now, you need those marketing experts to do it, not me. That's not my skill set. But making sure what you're doing is relevant. Yeah. So you stay relevant. Yeah. So it's simple. But there again, to your point there, Amner, you talk about how we or you and your organization and your people, if they feel like owners, they'll carry the brand and they'll keep it relevant. So then it's not where you have to go spend bajillions of dollars on the marketing part. Your employees are carrying it.
Yes.
They're the number one billboard.
Yeah.
right? And social media, what do they say about you when they're not working on social media? You as your organization. So there again, it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the biggest thing is thinking about your culture and how you can pivot and position your team to go out and be your marketing arm. They don't even know it, you know.
You're right. I've been in the staffing world and recruiting for 21 years, and
You still got to tell that story.
which one? Oh, how when you interviewed me?
When I interviewed you.
Okay, we'll tell this story. So okay, here I come then. So I've been in recruiting, and you know, you pay this much in radio, this much in newspaper and magazines and all that stuff, and then we would keep track of how it works, and then it's always like 70% word of mouth. So no matter how much money you spend too, it's word of mouth. It's how you treat your customers and how your employees. That means that you're treating your employees well because they're treating your customers well.
Absolutely.
And they're also out there saying, yeah, you should come work with me.
And you're building an ecosystem of people who can spread your name. Go to Amner.
Yeah.
Go to Infinite Resources.
Yeah.
You know.
So in between jobs and before I made the decision to start Infinite Resources or Amplified, or I was job hunting. And I applied at Hy-Vee, and I remember that you were sitting there, and I think my only comment, I don't know if you remember, but it was you and another gal. Mm-hmm. And I said, I feel like I'm being interrogated. It felt like an FBI thing because you had a suit, you were sitting there. I guess, I don't know, not in a bad way, but I've never been interviewed by two people. And I didn't get the job.
Yeah. So it's either the worst decision I ever made,
or the best
decision I ever made for you.
Yes,
one of the two.
Yes,
because you've obviously gone on to do some great things.
You Miyagi'd me.
You know.
And
I remember years later. I think it was years later. It could have been at the Black and Brown Business Summit, the very first one. You reminded me of that. I'm like, oh my God, I remember.
In the pitch competition, right in the middle of the pitch competition.
What I do remember is I went back, and I think I actually went back and looked at my notes from that interview. Is that you had a lot of experience, you had a lot of passion. It came down to you and one other person, and I had to move chess pieces around. So I made a decision. Like I said, best or worst decision ever.
I think it was the best.
Yeah, but but think about, you asked me one question about giving advice. Here's advice: if I'm looking to hire anyone in my organization, and this is Pat Lencioni, so I'm stealing it, but I use it all the time because it's 100% right. I look for three things: humble, hungry, smart. Pat Lencioni talks about it in the Ideal Team Player book. So great book. It's, I think a lot of the structure and bones we build for clients is really looking at that. And I do a lot with human capital and helping companies hire, our clients specifically, where we're helping them hire executive level and all that. We just stood that up this year. It's been fantastic. But you want someone who's humble. You want someone who's hungry. You want someone who's smart. You go through those bad moments. If you have someone with those three capabilities, and not necessarily the technical person who can do this, they can help you get through anything. Yeah. And smart doesn't mean just necessarily book smart, right? Because if that's the case, I wouldn't be here. Yeah. But the people smarts and how to really work with people, how to, to warm up, to build a relationship, build a rapport, and all that is really it. And humble and confident. They go hand in hand. Confident is not the opposite of being humble. Right. You can be cocky. Don't be cocky. But be humble, be confident, and then that. And then hunger is what you have, because guess what you did? You took a rejection, right? And you went and you said, "All right, I'm gonna go do my own thing.
I do it myself."
And you've done all right, man. Yeah, you should be proud of yourself.
And I'm really happy that our paths continue to cross, like at Hy-Vee, you made an impression on me, and then at the Black and Brown Summit, I did the pitch, and I was like, hey, you didn't hire me, and it did break the ice because public speaking is my biggest fear, so I felt a little comfortable, and you were very gracious about it.
That's when we all had those masks we had to wear, wasn't it?
Yeah. You've become a part of my journey on this chapter that I started 5 years ago. So I'm really grateful that I keep running into you and looking out. We're doing a podcast. So this takes me to the next question. Is like, what keeps you waking up every day, and what keeps you going? How do you?
What gets me off the pillow?
Yeah.
Professionally, the entrepreneurial spirit. You know, thinking through what's next. That could be helping the clients, or it could be doing my own things. I do own a couple small businesses, 2 myself, but it's that personally. It's driven by my 2 girls. I'd say my family. My wife's included too, obviously. But, you know, I have 2 young girls, and I want to make sure I'm better for them. And one of the things I've done over the last 2 years is really focus on my health. Because just wasn't feeling great.
Yeah.
You know, had some issues going on. Not very happy. Way overweight.
I was gonna say you're looking lean.
Thank you, man. I'm trying. You know, and you know, I did 70. I'm going to do it again. 75 hard. Just to push myself in the gym twice a day.
So what is 75 hard?
75 hard is 2 45-minute workouts a day. One of them supposed to be outside, one of them inside. No alcohol.
Okay.
Read 10 pages a day. So just building strong habits.
Okay.
Drink a gallon of water. What's the other? Follow a diet.
Yes.
Follow some kind of diet that works for you and your body type. And by day 60, it beats you up pretty good. You're like, okay, I want this to be over.
Yeah.
But time to get to 70, 75. And I did that last year. Really, it was just about building stronger habits and new commitments to myself.
How crucial is that? I think a lot of people don't focus on that. They want things to get better for them. They want things to work out.
Yeah.
They want things to like fall into place. But health is crucial, right? Like,
right.
Do we speak on it only from the sense of vanity to look good? We don't speak on it enough to like how far it can take you, right? It can take you.
Oh my
gosh.
take you far. I'm a bad sleeper. My wife would tell you I'm a worst sleeper in the world. If I don't work out, or let's just say I indulge in an extra Coors Light, not going to sleep very well.
Yeah.
And I track it here with this oil rot. I mean, you can tell, and I just know. So, how extra productive will I be next day?
Yeah.
And so you think about your business that may cause you to have to go to some of these vices. Could be you're drinking because work is tough, right, and you need to relax. And now I'm not saying you shouldn't. I still drink, and I think it's okay, right? But you know, but if I'm doing it as to medicate versus to celebrate, it's two different things. Or whatever the other vice could be for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's driving you because of, it could be work or life or whatever. And so those things are running you versus you running it. Work's running you.
Yeah.
Your job is running you. Your business is running you, and you're not running your business. Because you're not putting yourself in the best position to succeed. And you have to just look within yourself and do it. And it's tough. But, you know, I look at my girls, and I have a girl that's in 6 dance classes a week, and you can see her physically begin to change. You can see the passion she has around dance. She's good. She's on the performance team, or they have company team or what have you. And, you know, and I have another girl that's as boneheaded, as stubborn as me. And so when she sticks her convictions, she's going to do it. And I'm like, I don't have to worry about you. You know, just once you find your passion, your gifts that you have, you're going to be just fine. You know, so just don't be like me, but be fine. So, you know, I use that as my guy, and then obviously my wife will whack me in the head when I'm being dumb.
And it's got to be intentional, right?
Yeah.
Like it can't be accidental.
It's got to be intentional, and you know, you need to surround yourself with good people who are like-minded, who can help you through the times when you're not seeing it. 'Cause we all go through it, and we all will again. So, but my center is, again, it's my family, it's my home. You know, I'm a pretty social guy, and my neighbors, they want to do all this stuff and hang out, but as soon as I get home, I just want to be in the house. You know, I don't really want to do anything else. I just want to kind of hang out. And I think that's part of me saying, this is my safe space. I don't want no foolishness in my house. I don't need we can find time to get together, whatever that looks like, but this is my safe space.
Unexpected like knocks, right? It feels weird. Like, why? Who are we expecting somebody?
Well, now it's usually 8 to 10-year-old kids, neighborhood kids are coming over, ringing my doorbell all the time at night, you know, but, it's just really centered. And again, once I figure that out for myself, I was able to operate better. I was pretty paralyzed for a while, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact just how I handled certain things. And so I'm that guy who always says it's always my fault first.
Yeah.
You know, I take.
We contribute to any situation, right?
We contribute to it, and we make it worse, and instead of better. So, but we can make it better if we work hard at it.
Yeah.
So,
I've been also intentional about all that, like the intake of alcohol, working out. Because like at some point I'm like, I need to elevate my game in order for me to be able to accomplish what I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
If I think that I'm just gonna like, how do you say it? Burn the stick on both ends.
Burn the candle at both ends. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's it's gonna be obvious, right? Like, if you're all bloated and like hungover and can't make a decision, and think that people are just gonna follow you, like that's not. So I this year has been.
We're not 21 anymore.
I know that too. I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the same anymore like it used to.
Yeah.
So what do you think we're going to talk about today? Look at what we're talking about. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So what is the best advice that I know you talked about mentorship, and I always say that I have like a handful of people that. Any situation that I have, I kind of pick the right person for that situation, and they don't even know they're my mentors. Like I just call them and they respond, they answer, and I'm like, So, what's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
And Dad's always said this: focus on the individual. When it comes to even things like race or gender, focus on the individual. I want to surround myself with good people. I don't want to surround myself with foolishness at my age. I just don't care for that anymore, right? And it's just negativity. So once you focus on that individual, whatever that is, you tend to learn a lot of uniques about that person, about how that individual grew up. I mean, I sit here, as a Hispanic gentleman, someone with a Hispanic background, and as a black man, people can look and judge and base of our optics and all that. Is that always fair? And so as you focus on the individual in life, that's always been my approach to DEI. I want someone to think different than me. I want someone to look different than me. They can't be better looking. That's a joke. That's a joke. But you know what I mean? You want to surround yourself with the individuals that have they're built to treat people well. They're imperfect, but they're perfect because they're cool. You can hang out with, you can jive with them. You can also learn about them. So having an open mind and learning about different things. One of the biggest things he did for us as a kid is we'd just jump in a car during John Deere shutdown and go to a different region of the country. So I've been to 48 states.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I was just in Louisiana and Vegas last week and Michigan, and each spot was different, and I can notice those uniques and everything from the accents, how people talk, to how they live, to how they operate every day, and it's just, you have a respect for that. Otherwise, what happens? We get to a society that we're closed-minded. I don't want to learn about you or grow, and I don't care about your heritage. I don't care about your background.
You paint one group of people with one brush.
Bingo. Yeah. So, I mean, he said that to me as a kid, up through high school. Focus on the individual.
Focus on the person.
Focus on the individual. Yep.
You'll see past
all the other foolishness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one. We'll give you time to think about it too.
All right.
What is your life motto?
Any of you guys football fans?
Yeah.
Professional football fans?
Yeah.
What's your college team?
Well, I mean, Iowa.
Okay, good.
You went, yeah. See,
I
did my research.
All right, he did his research. That's good. See, I was setting you up. You're going to say Iowa State. I was going to take these headphones off and walk out of here. No, I'm just joking. So Hayden Fry. My daughter's middle name's actually Hayden too. My oldest daughter.
Okay.
Hayden Fry is an idol of mine because I always loved the way he led. He was a leader. He ran teams that failed. And he was ultimately fired from them. But then he came to Iowa, which was not a winning program, changed the culture. Said, we're going to look like winners. We're going to dress like the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they adapted those uniforms. They changed how they played. They changed how they practiced. They changed how they recruited. And Iowa went from losing for 30 years after being a national championship high-level team to 79 when he got here. And he was the first team in the Big Ten besides Michigan and Ohio State to win. So long story to say, he used a saying called scratch where it itches. And scratch where it itches.
Okay.
And really that just means fix the problem, right? You have to go fix everything. You know, you may look at a brand new program or a brand new business and you might say, this whole thing is broken. Well, if it's broken, it probably should be bankrupt anyway, and it shouldn't. Yeah. But if it's fixable, fix the problems and scratch. I may have an itch in my elbow. I may have one on my toe. I'm only going to scratch there. I'm not scratching my calf. Yeah. So I think I live by that motto. It's like, just fix the problem, because there'll be another itch. Yeah. You know, and I can't sit there and scratch my whole body all day. Yeah. So I think that's probably the way I live my life. As you can tell, I take a lot of quotes. Someday I'm going to write a book on quotes. But Scratch Where It Itches is probably the title of the book, if I were to write one.
There you go.
We as human beings, we can tend to overprescribe and
overanalyze,
overthink. No, just take care of this right now. This is the most important thing. Learn how to figure out what the most important itch to scratch is, right? I mean, and then move forward with that.
Yeah. Well, let's end it with that.
All right.
That's a great way to end it. I really appreciate you as a person, and like I said again, I can't thank you enough. And if your ears are like itching sometimes, just be like, Emner must be.
I'll give you a call.
Same.
Well, let's hang out again, man. It's been too long. You know, I keep up with you. I see you on social, and I see all the amazing things you do in the community. So it's an honor to be here. So thank you for inviting me. And I just can't wait to hang out again.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much again. And then we'll see everybody next time.
Thank you.